before the Honorable William Sullivan, Justice of the Superior Court, now sitting within the Commonwealth. On the end of your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now in session. Please be seated.
Yes, please.
Honor, before the court today, we have the continuation of the jury trial in the matter of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. Ms. Clancy is present. She is represented by Attorney Kevin Reddington. The Commonwealth is represented by Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Sprague and Assistant District Attorney Shannon Buckingham.
All right. Well, good morning again. Nice to see everyone. Thank you for being here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you those questions again, and then go over the schedule. Forget we are not, or you are not, sitting this afternoon, okay? And that's not going to change, so you can count on that. So let me ask you at this point, has any member of the jury read, seen, heard, or overheard anything from any source about any aspect of this case that would affect your ability to be fair and impartial as a juror? All right. Next, is there any other serious matter or concern bearing on your service as a juror in this case that anybody needs to bring to my attention? Great. Thank you again for following those instructions. And what we're going to do is we're going to return to the Commonwealth's case. And like I said, we are not going to be, you're not going to be sitting this afternoon. The plan, and I'll double check when we get to that point, would be to return tomorrow at 9 o'clock and pretty much relatively full day tomorrow and probably Friday as well. But I'll double check as we go through that, all right? And I'll let you know as soon as I can if there's any changes to that schedule. So with that, I'm going to ask the Commonwealth to call their next witness. Commonwealth.
Thank you. The Commonwealth calls Etan Negri.
Good morning. You stop right here. Raise your right hand to the clerk.
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give that you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now having which you Commonwealth and the truth and nothing but the truth shall be done? Thank you. You may have a seat.
Watch your step, please.
All right. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I just ask you to speak into that microphone.
Sure.
All right. Attorney Buckingham, please.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jurors your first and last name?
My first name is Etan, last name is Negri.
Can you spell your first name for the record?
E-I-T-A-N.
And your last name?
N-E-G-R-I.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a physician associate, physician assistant.
And did you go to school for that?
Yes.
Can you tell us about your educational background?
I did my undergraduate at City College in New York, and I did a post-bac at Brooklyn College, followed by a PA program at Torrey University in Manhattan.
And do you currently work as a physician's assistant?
Yes.
And do you currently work in the state of Massachusetts?
No, ma'am.
Are you licensed in the state of Massachusetts?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you licensed in any other states?
New York State.
I'm going to go back to January of 2023. Were you working in Massachusetts then?
Yes.
And where were you working?
Brigham and Women's Hospital.
And were you in that same role as a physician's assistant?
Yes.
And what were you doing? What were your general duties in that role working at Brigham and Women's?
Generally, you assess a patient, you diagnose, you formulate a plan with an attending physician, and you execute that plan throughout the day. It encompasses various things.
Were you working in any particular department at Brigham and Women's back in January of 2023?
Trauma, burn, surgical ICU.
Now, I'm going to draw your attention to a particular patient that came into the Brigham and Women's Hospital on January 24th of 2023. That patient was Lindsay Clancy. Do you recall encountering this patient on January 25th of 2023?
Yes.
And what did you do as it pertained to the care and treatment of this patient?
I received the information from the shift before me, formulated a plan, examined her, assessed her, staffed that plan with the attending physician, and executed that plan throughout the day.
And fair to say this particular patient had injuries that you were directed to observe, review, form that plan on?
Correct.
What were the injuries?
She had multiple injuries. The most acute were injuries that were requiring consultation with other services, and the ones that I directly managed were the lacerations to her wrists and her, just her wrists, actually.
And as far as when you say she had other acute injuries, you were not involved in the care of her for those, correct?
I was involved in the care that involved consulting other services to manage those things, yes.
Okay, and as far as any sort of repair work that you were doing as a physician's assistant working with the trauma surgeons, what repair work were you assigned to do?
Laceration repair.
And on this particular patient, where were the injuries or lacerations that you were going to repair?
She had multiple lacerations on both of her wrists. She had superficial on her neck, which I did not repair.
Okay. And as it pertained to the wrists, did you go through that process of observing, reviewing, coming up with a plan, and then repairing those injuries?
Yes.
And were you directed to do that by any particular doctor?
Not necessarily directed. A lot of those things fall within my scope, and since they were less acute, they kind of fell down the chain to me.
Okay. And you're aware that she was being seen and treated by a host of other doctors, nurses, an entire team?
Yes.
Okay. As it pertains to the wrist injuries, what did you do to examine those areas?
The first thing I do is assess the location, then I assess the severity, whether it requires intervention by someone other than myself. In this instance, it did not. So then I proceed with just kind of protocol laceration repair.
When would it be a situation where you'd need somebody else to intervene?
If it required surgical intervention or suturing repair beyond my skill set, in this instance, it did not.
Okay. And so referring to these particular injuries, when you observed them, did you observe any areas of active bleeding?
No.
And fair to say they had been treated by nurses and other staff prior to you encountering these injuries, correct?
Yes, they were dressed and covered before I got there.
Now, when you assessed them, you noted that they were bilateral, correct?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means on both sides of the body, so both wrists.
Okay. And so referring to the right wrist, what were your observations of the injuries to the right wrist?
The right wrist, as far as my reference to the note, is that she had a few lacerations, one of which was severe and deep enough to require repair.
And fair to say that that right wrist injury was the one that you repaired was 3 centimeters deep.
Approximately, if that's what my note says, then that's what it was.
Okay. And on a wrist, or this area of the wrist where you observed the injuries, that depth of 3 centimeters, did that require further surgical intervention, or were you able to suture that area?
I was able to suture that area. As far as what happened subsequent to that, I wasn't there, so I'm not sure.
Okay. And how many sutures did you use to repair that injury?
I believe 3.
And in relation to any other cuts or lacerations that were on that right wrist, did any other of those lacerations require suturing?
No.
How did you treat those other injuries?
Just irrigation, meaning cleaning them out, and then using a type of tape to close them shut.
And that's generally referred to as a steri strip, correct?
Correct.
May I approach the witness?
Me.
I'm showing you 2 photographs. Do those photographs depict the repairs or the sutures that you did on the right wrist of Lindsay Clancy?
Yes.
I would move to admit these as the next 2 exhibits.
All right, those may be admitted.
201 and 202.
And I'm just going to show on the screen what's now been marked as Exhibit 201, and you should be able to see it, sir, on the screen in front of you. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And so this is the right wrist, correct?
Correct.
And those black lines in the middle of the photograph are those the sutures that you did.
Correct.
And just showing you 202, Exhibit 202. These white strips that are all around the injury, are those the steri strips?
Correct.
Now, on the left wrist, do you recall what you observed to be the injuries on that wrist?
I believe there was a similar laceration, just shorter in length, that required fewer sutures.
And fair to say, if your notes reflect that the left wrist had one, meaning just a singular 2 centimeter deep linear cut, that would have been what your observations were of the injury that you repaired?
Correct.
And how many sutures did that injury require?
1 suture.
And were there other areas that you observed that had some sort of laceration?
I believe similarly just superficial ones that needed steri strips.
And again, in treating this particular injury, when you came upon it, was there active bleeding or any concern that you needed more intervention other than a suture?
At that time, no.
I'm going to show you 2 more photos. Are those familiar to you?
Yes.
And are those the suture that you did on the left wrist of Lindsay Clancy?
Yes, ma'am.
I moved to admit these as the next 2 exhibits.
All right, that may be admitted, or they may be admitted.
I think 203 and 204.
Thank you.
And now again, just showing what's been now marked as exhibit 203. And you see the injury there on the wrist near the ruler in the photograph.
Yes.
And exhibit 204, which is just a closer upshot of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And again, you see the white strips. Those are also steri strips that were applied.
Correct.
Now, in relation to any of these wounds on the right or the left wrist, did you observe the lacerations to go any deeper than the subcutaneous tissue?
On my observation, no.
And when we talk subcutaneous tissue, we're talking about that fatty tissue underneath your skin, correct?
Correct.
And did you have to return at any point, to your knowledge, to readdress these issues or do any further laceration repair as it pertained to this patient?
On that shift, no.
Do you recall if you did it on any other shift?
No.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Reddington.
Is it Mr. Negri?
Agree, yes, sir.
And you're not a doctor, you're a physician assistant, is that what it is?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And how long had you worked for Brigham and Women's prior to seeing Lindsay Clancy that on January 24, 23?
I believe I was in my 2nd year of employment with Brigham and Women's.
Okay, and you got to keep your voice up because people back here have to be able to hear you too,
I
okay?
believe I was in my 2nd year of employment at Brigham and Women's.
You're not suggesting for 1 minute that after you did your butterfly stitches, Lindsay could have got up and walked out the door of the hospital, right?
No, sir.
And would you agree with me that, in fact, she was critically ill when you saw her, right?
Yes, sir.
And she certainly wasn't critically ill from COVID or a flu or something like that, right?
No, not to my knowledge.
You know that there are notes that are prepared for the records from the hospital. For example, on January 24, 2023, hospital admission form is filled out. Do you know a Dr. Jeffrey Andrew Anderson?
Yes.
And he was, what was his position that night?
He was one of the trauma surgeons and also one of the intensivists, the attending physicians in the ICU.
All right. And you've had a chance to review a number of records and photographs with the DAs, I imagine, right?
I've reviewed my own procedure note.
Okay, so what does that mean?
It means I reviewed the note that I wrote myself regarding the laceration repairs.
Okay, is that the note that indicates that it appears as though that, for example, on the right upper extremity, there's a 3.5 centimeter deep laceration on the volar aspect of the wrist?
I don't believe that I commented saying volar specifically, so I don't know if that's in regards to my note, but I believe my note did say about 3 centimeters deep, yes.
Okay, so do you recall indicating in your note that it was superficial laceration, or did you indicate that it was a deep laceration?
I indicated that some of them were superficial, and the one that I repaired in particular was 3 centimeters deep.
And you've had occasion to speak to the prosecutors on this case, and that they've asked you about the superficial injury to her wrist, right?
Correct.
In addition to the, as indicated on page 75 of the Brigham and Women's Hospital record that I have, and we can fix that with other records if it doesn't coincide. There's a note from Dr. Anderson that the right upper extremity, 3.5 centimeter deep laceration, volar aspect of the wrist. Left upper extremity, 2 centimeter deep laceration on the volar aspect of the wrist. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then you were able to, as you say, clean it up with saline or whatever, and then you stitched up what you had to stitch up, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you have anything to do with the massive transfusion that she had?
No, sir.
Do you have anything to do with the treatment of the transected spine that she had, the shattered spine?
No, sir.
Do you have anything whatsoever to do with the insertion of tubes on both sides of her body and the draining of the blood that had pooled in her middle cavity?
Just the management of those tubes after, but not the placement.
Okay. So you were there while that was done?
I was there managing once they had been placed, but I was not there for the placement of them.
Okay,
no.
but you knew that they were in there, that they were draining
Correct.
the blood. Okay.
Yes.
And do you know where the blood came from that was in her middle extremity?
I don't know specifically. I'd have to refer back to the
Okay.
imaging reports.
In any event, you know that shortly thereafter she coded, right?
Yes.
Were you there for that?
No, sir.
And basically, that means that the patient has, in effect, died from cardiac arrest, right?
Not necessarily died, but their heart has stopped beating for that
And then
portion.
there's the crash teams and everybody hopefully revives the person, right?
Correct.
And you guys did that, or they did, and they were successful reviving her, correct? So without going through everything, you'd agree with me, sir, that your observations would be of the wrist, the repair, and the taking care of the tubes after they were inserted into both sides of her chest.
That's correct.
And that was your involvement extended, correct? You're all done after
I was
that.
involved in the ongoing management of her care throughout the day, but just as you stated, not the things that you asked me about.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure.
I'd offer these.
They're part of the record.
Yeah, they're right about this.
I would object if we could approach.
I don't want to have a jury that to go through 10.
Well, I know that. Listen, you want to mark them for identification, and then we can address that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I may just with a few questions.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Negri, I'm just going to approach and show you.
Hold on a second. Is that my? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you.
Just show you a page from the records that's labeled Brigham and Women's, page 76. You can hold it in.
Specifically this highlighted area?
Yeah, I would direct your attention to the bottom paragraph where it says exam. That's not your note from the record, correct?
Correct.
And when it's noted that the right upper extremity, left upper extremity has 3.5 centimeter deep laceration, 2 centimeter deep laceration, deep in the medical notes is not a adjective of it, correct? It's more of a directionality of the injury.
It's a description of, basically an objective unit of measure.
But when we say deep, it means that it goes down into the skin as opposed to across the
It doesn't matter
skin.
what we say, it's what the record said.
I understand, but just, if you could ask that question again.
As far as your assessment of injuries, deep goes down in the skin as opposed to across the skin.
Correct.
And as far as Dr. Anderson goes, you knew that him to be one of the attendings and a trauma surgeon in this case. Were you aware that on January 24th, he had examined these injuries and indicated they did not require repair at that time?
I don't recall specifically. I'm sorry.
But you came in to repair these on January 25th?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything on that?
Oh, thank you,
All
John.
right, thank you, sir. Thank you. You're all set. Attorney Buckingham, please.
The Commonwealth would call Nicholas Roberts as its next witness, please.
Good morning, sir. Can you stop right there? Raise your right hand for the clerk, please.
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony and the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? May I have a seat?
Step, please.
Good morning, sir. All right, counsel.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jurors your first and last name
It's Nicholas Roberts.
and where you currently work?
I work for a company called Thermo Fisher.
What is that? What do they do?
They sell plenty of laboratory-based products, including refrigeration. They sell solvents. They do instruments as well.
Prior to working for that company, did you work for the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab?
I did.
In what unit did you work for the crime lab?
I was in the toxicology unit
How long did you work for the crime lab?
for about 9 years.
And in working for the crime lab, what kind of training and experience did you have to work in the toxicology unit?
Prior to being hired, I have both a bachelor's and a master's degree in applied forensic science with a concentration in chemistry and toxicology. I also have the master's is in forensic toxicology. While being hired on the job, they provide training for all the in-house stuff that we test for, which includes not only a theory-based training, but also practical stuff so that you can analyze and run all the tests that we do in-house.
And as far as your work in the toxicology unit, fair to say in January of 2023 or February of 2023, you were what's referred to as a forensic scientist too, correct?
Yes.
And throughout your time at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, did you have to undergo competency tests and proficiency tests?
Yes.
And why is that? Why do you have to do that?
So mainly it's to
I know
Hold
the
on,
gentleman,
we
he's
get to go
qualified.
hold on. One at a time. Okay. Is there
I'm just saying,
objection?
I know he's qualified, and I have no problem with his credentials and his
All
testimony.
right. All right. Counsel?
Thank you. Sir, in working at the State Police Crime Lab, did you just work in the toxicology unit or did you work in any other units in your time there?
no, only in toxicology.
Okay. Now, as it pertains to the toxicology unit, fair to say the State Police Crime Lab has a specific set of protocols and procedures that are followed in every case?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time in February of 2023, was the State Police Crime Lab using the batch review process?
Yes.
And so when the state police use this process, there are a number of different technicians or forensic scientists that work on any given case. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And at the end of it, one analyst is responsible for reviewing all the data and authoring a report.
Yes.
And based on your training and experience, if you're that person reviewing the data and authoring the report, do you have the ability to interpret some of the data in the report?
Yes.
Or data in the testing, I should say.
Yes, we review all the data that is provided within the case file.
And did you, during your time at the crime lab in the toxicology unit, stay up to date on various types of drugs and quantifications of those drugs and what that could mean for levels in a person's blood or urine?
Yes, they keep us up to date on drugs that are commonly used.
So one of the roles in the toxicology unit is for you to report whether substances are detected in blood and urine. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And at some points, are you also called upon to interpret the levels of those drugs?
So in blood, we report values. So we get concentrations of the different drugs, and we mainly report them in blood.
Okay. And as far as the concentration levels themselves, did you have training and experience on interpreting those levels?
We usually get training on the effects of the drugs. It's hard to say with some drugs, as well as some people, what one level might mean for one person. It might differ, and you have different effects on another.
Okay, and fair to say that's a limitation of just reviewing blood and not knowing anything else about a case, right?
Yes.
At the toxicology unit, at the crime lab, is there a limitation as to how or what types of drugs can actually be quantified or given concentration levels?
Yes, we only quantify certain drugs.
And what happens if there are other drugs present and there's a request for quantification or concentration levels? What does your lab do with that?
Usually they're sent out to another lab in order for testing.
And are you familiar with the NMS lab?
Yes.
Is that, or was that at that time, a common lab that would be sent drugs that you could not quantify in your lab?
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention to the lab number of 23-01, 01723. It's a case that you were the reporting analyst on, correct?
Yes.
And fair to say that there were several items that were submitted to the toxicology unit as specimens.
Yes.
Including blood, plasma, and urine.
Yes.
And did you work with other members of the toxicology unit to have those specimens screened and then further tested?
Yes, the batch process was followed.
And as far as any screening tests, did you yourself do any screening tests on these items?
Yes.
What screening tests did you do?
The screening for the alcohol.
And was there any alcohol present?
No.
And in this screening for alcohol, does it just tell you whether it was detected or not detected?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you don't have a result, there's nothing further to do.
Correct.
Now, as far as the blood that was tested in this case, in the urine, you were aware that there were screening tests done for what's called the ELISA screen, benzodiazepines, and general unknown screens for these samples, correct?
Yes, that's usually our protocol.
And in any of those circumstances, were there positive results?
Yes.
And as it pertained to the positive results, what's your understanding of what was positive?
So to my knowledge, it was positive for the benzodiazepine panel in ELISA. That would have gotten further confirmatory testing done on it to see the levels as well as the individual types of benzos that were present in the blood. And the same was for the urine as well. We also identified a few substances via our general unknown screen, which was confirmed in blood and urine.
Now, as far as...
Is there an agreement as to whose blood is being tested at this point instead of just by the number?
Yes.
I mean, it might be easier for everybody, for the jury to follow.
So would Your Honor just like you to read the results?
No, just instead of referring to it by a number. Well, let me see it sidebar.
I tell you that your report was previously entered as Exhibit 183. Have you had the opportunity to review your report before coming today?
Yes.
And so the lab number that we've been referring to, you're aware that the person associated with that lab number was actually a woman by the name of Lindsay Clancy.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as the testing that was done, you received results to the positive benzodiazepines in the screen, and then it was confirmed, correct?
Correct.
How many benzodiazepines were present?
There were at least 4 or 5.
Okay. And were you able to get concentration levels from the blood samples after that screen and the confirmatory tests?
Yes.
And again, already in evidence, but the toxicology report for item 10-101 on the blood with those benzodiazepines, there's diazepam, correct?
Yes.
Norodiazepam,
Yes.
oxazepam,
Yep.
temazepam,
Yes.
and lorazepam.
Yes.
And as far as your review of the testing on those substances and the concentration levels, did anything about any of those levels stand out to you as far as based on your training and experience?
Only that they were reportable.
Okay. Are you familiar whether they're in any sort of therapeutic level for any of those drugs?
I'm not sure.
Okay. You mentioned there were also other substances that were detected in the general unknown screen, correct?
Yes.
And that would have been mirtazapine, lamotrigine, quetiapine metabolite, and trazodone.
Yes.
And was your lab able to get concentration levels for those?
No.
And so what did you do, or what was done with the samples or the specimens as it pertained to those substances?
To my knowledge, they were sent to NMS labs.
And you've previously stated that you are trained on effects of certain types of drugs, but your limitation is you don't know how it affects a particular individual, correct?
Correct.
These particular 5 benzodiazepines, do you know where they fall in the type of drug, what the general effects of those drugs are?
Benzos tend to be central nervous system depressants.
Okay. And the ones that were detected, but you don't have the levels for mirtazapine in the list I read, what category are those drugs?
Those tend to also be central nervous system depressants. Quetiapine in particular is usually known to treat bipolar disorder or schizophrenia.
And as it pertains to the presence of the 5 benzodiazepines, your testing is limited in that you don't know whether that was from one medication or multiple medications, correct?
Correct, because the nordiazepam, oxazepam, and temazepam tend to be metabolites of diazepam.
No further questions.
Are you ready?
Morning.
Morning.
How you doing?
Not too bad yourself.
All right. Just a couple of brief questions. First of all, this would be a blood sample that was taken from Lindsay on a particular, like one day. This is not a panel of a bunch of different samples, right?
To my knowledge, there would have been a few different test tubes submitted to us.
Okay, test tubes, but when you draw in other words, when you draw the blood, it would basically be the same time that they put it in different test tubes.
Yes, I'm not familiar with these specific ones, like if they were done over a span of time. But usually,
that's fair enough. I mean, but you have the test tubes, and you know that it's Lindsay Clancy's blood, right?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that that's a fairly large number of drugs and metabolites that are in that particular blood sample, right?
I have seen more.
Well, I'm sure, but nevertheless, that's still a large number of drugs, though, right?
Yeah, there's quite a few.
And you don't know, as a working your job for the state police at that time, you don't know how many of these drugs are coming from scripts, prescriptions, and things of that nature, right?
No.
One of the things that you had mentioned were metabolites, and you said that because the district attorney asked you about different benzodiazepines, this PAM, that PAM, this PAM, that PAM, and then you responded and said, yeah, but there's a lot of metabolites involved in that, right? What does that mean?
So a metabolite is just a breakdown of anything usually by the body. So you have what we call a parent drug, and the body, if you ingest that, the body would then break it down or put it into a more digestible form in order to get rid of it.
Okay. So when you have a number of metabolites, for example, someone may have a prescription for amitriptyline or a prescription for Zoloft or Ativan or something. And they take the pill and it's in their system, and then over time it would metabolize and there'd be different PAMs or whatever it is that would break down into the blood. Is that right?
Yes.
How about tetrahydrocannabinols, THC, marijuana? What was the level on that?
To my knowledge, we didn't find any.
No marijuana, right?
Correct.
Thank you very much, sir.
Attorney Buckingham, any redirect?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. You sit down there.
Sorry.
Hi. Come on.
Your Honor, at this time, upon agreement, I'd ask to admit as the next exhibit, just a chart that the parties have agreed upon that lists the brand names of some of the drugs that have been spoken about throughout the course of the trial, as well as what they were also known as for the ease of the jurors.
All right.
That's by agreement, Judge.
All right, so by agreement, that may be admitted.
And the Commonwealth would call Dr. Jonathan Brower as its next witness.
Good morning, sir. Morning. Can you stop right here and raise your right hand for the clerk, please?
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony and the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury that there are no pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant of the class shall be the truth? Thank you. You may have a seat.
Watch your step, please.
All right, good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
All right, ask you to keep your voice up so the jury can hear you. And with that, counsel.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Can you please tell the jurors your first and last name?
It's Justin Brower, Brower.
And what do you do for work, sir?
I'm a forensic toxicologist for NMS Laboratories.
And where is that laboratory located?
The laboratory is located in Horsham, Pennsylvania, just north of Philadelphia.
And what does your laboratory do?
We are a reference laboratory. We do postmortem work, clinical work, and forensic drug work. So primarily my role is on the forensic side. I'm a forensic toxicologist.
And does your lab receive specimens from all across the country?
We do. We have clients in all 50 states. We do approximately half of the postmortem work in the United States, as well as a large number of clinical clients.
And is your lab accredited across several states and across the country?
We are, because we deal with all the states in the United States, all the states in the country. We are accredited by just about every accrediting body that I'm aware of in the clinical and forensic aspects, as well as a lot of state certifications. So a lot of states have their own requirements. The most notable one is like New York State. So we're accredited by, again, every accrediting body that I'm aware of.
Okay. And how long have you worked for NMS Laboratory?
4 years as of August 1st.
Okay. And what's your educational background as a forensic toxicology?
I have a PhD in organic chemistry.
Where did you get that from?
The University of Nevada.
And do you have any other professional experience in this field prior to working for NMS?
I do. Before joining NMS Laboratories, I was a laboratory supervisor and then forensic toxicologist for the North Carolina Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, which is a statewide system. So we did the postmortem toxicology work for all 100 counties of the state of North Carolina.
And when it comes to your role in the forensic area of doing the toxicology testing, what is your role in the NMS lab when it comes to cases that come to the laboratory for forensic analysis?
So when a case comes into NMS and is logged in and the assigned or the requested test assigned and then run and reviewed multiple times in the laboratory, when all that testing is completed, it comes to the toxicology department, and my role is to review every aspect of that case. So I'm making sure that everything on the toxicology report is complete and accurate, such as all the demographic information that we have available to us, the name of the decedent or the patient, date of birth, where it's from, the specimens that we received, and then also that all of everything that is reported is complete and accurate, making sure that all the drugs that were tested for are reported, and that the reported concentrations are correct and accurate, and looking at every piece of raw data accumulated from the laboratory with that case, associated with that case.
Fair to say the NMS laboratory uses a batch review workflow.
That is correct. So we not only run
the cases in batches. So we don't run one case at a time. That's not very efficient. I don't really know of any laboratory that does that anymore. So we will run cases, 10, 15, 30 or 40 at a time.
So as far as running a particular test and getting the raw data, that's usually done by other people in the laboratory, correct?
That is correct.
And then you come in at the end and review everything and have the ability to interpret the data.
That is correct.
Your training and experience as a forensic toxicologist, does that allow you to interpret concentration levels of particular types of drugs?
It does.
Now, as far as the testing done at NMS laboratories, the traditional testing is kind of the drug testing, the panels for different common drugs, correct?
And typically, we have clients request panels to be run where we're looking for, multiple drugs and classes of drugs at a time.
But are there circumstances when outside laboratories or outside individuals retain your lab in order to run specific tests?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, I'm going to draw your attention to this particular case. Was your laboratory provided a blood sample from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab in April of 2023?
I believe so. I'd really like to see the toxicology report so I can just confirm all of that, please.
Sure.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
You can hang on to that.
That's fine.
Okay. Correct. We received the specimens on April 7th, 2023.
Okay. And it came from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab?
No. I don't know where they were initially sent from, but the client or the submitting agency is the District Attorney's Office of Plymouth.
Okay. Now, as it pertains to the requested testing that was done, was it that panel that you described, or was it more specific testing?
This is what we call direct testing, where they requested just 4 specific drugs to be tested for.
And what were the 4 specific tests requested?
Lamotrigine, mirtazapine, quetiapine, and trazodone.
Are you familiar with those substances or those drugs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you reviewed all of the data and information done at your lab in regards to these tests, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Were they able to identify concentration levels in the sample that was submitted for each one of those 4 substances?
Yes, ma'am.
And for the first, can you tell us what the result was?
Would you like me just to run down the list?
Sure.
Okay. We detected lamotrigine in a concentration of 6.1 micrograms per milliliter, mirtazapine at a concentration of 200 nanograms per milliliter, quetiapine at a concentration of 1,800 nanograms per milliliter, and trazodone at a concentration of 0.44 micrograms per milliliter. And these were all in blood.
In blood. And so with each drug that you just listed, are you familiar with what the common name is for the drugs?
I'm not always that great with common names, but I can wing it.
Okay. Well, the lamotrigine, and forgive me if I botched
That's okay.
the pronunciation, that's also referred to commonly as Lamictal.
It is correct, Lamictal.
What kind of drug is that?
It's typically used as an anti-seizure medication. So if somebody has a seizure disorder, it can be prescribed to alleviate seizures, but it is also used for bipolar disorder as well.
And mirtazapine, fair to say that's commonly referred to as Remeron.
Correct.
And what kind of drug is that?
That is typically an antidepressant.
And quetiapine, what's that common drug?
Quetiapine is known as Seroquel.
And fair to say that's an antipsychotic as well for bipolar?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with whether that often can be prescribed in low doses for sleep?
It is. It can be for insomnia.
And trazodone, what's the common name for trazodone, if you know?
I am drawing a blank on the trazodone.
If I suggest trazamine, is that familiar?
Not the one I'm most familiar with, and I apologize.
That's okay, but you're familiar with trazodone.
Correct,
And
yeah.
what class of drug is that?
That's an antidepressant.
Now, in your review of the levels that were detected in these 4 tests for each of these substances, do any of these levels appear to be outside therapeutic concentration levels?
The only one that's a little elevated would be the quetiapine.
Okay.
So we're gonna take a very short break at this time, all right? So this will be a short break and we'll come right back, all right?
All right. Please go to no foot, please, small chairs. This way, please.
All right, we'll be right, this will be a short break, just for a short recess, we'll come right back up.
Half hour?
Hopefully not. Yeah. Nice.
Court, all right. Jurors enter. This court's now in session. Please be seated.
All right, for the purpose of the record, we return back to the trial of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. All parties are present, including Ms. Clancy and including the 18 jurors.
All right. All right. Counsel?
Thank you. Dr. Brower, before we broke, we mentioned the term. Are you familiar with that term?
Correct.
What does that mean?
It's the typical concentration that one would achieve when they're taking the medication or drug as indicated by their prescriber.
And are you familiar with toxic concentrations or suicidal concentrations?
I am.
And what does that mean?
Those are concentrations that could lead to adverse events and potentially death.
Now, in relation to the 4 substances that were tested at the NMS laboratory, you identified the levels for each of the 4 substances. Were any of those concentration levels considered within therapeutic concentration?
It would all be in what I would say a therapeutic concentration, except maybe the quetiapine, which is slightly elevated.
Okay. And in your experience as a forensic toxicologist, have you had the occasion to review cases, post-mortem cases in which suicide was a mechanism of death where the person consumed medication?
Absolutely, yes.
And so that level of the quetiapine at the 800 nanograms per milliliter, would that have been in that toxic or suicidal level?
No, ma'am.
Would you generally expect to see that significantly greater in a suicide case?
Typically, quetiapines in suicide cases might be in the, close to 10,000 nanograms per milliliter. Usually people take handfuls of pills when they're trying to harm themselves and take their own life, and this is not consistent with that.
Now, are you also familiar in your training and experience with the class of drugs called benzodiazepines?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have the occasion to interpret data as it pertains to concentration levels for those?
Every single day.
And as far as the substances diazepam, noradiazepam, oxazepam, temazepam, lorazepam. You're familiar with those?
I am.
And it's fair to say noradiazepam, oxazepam, temazepam, those are all metabolites of diazepam.
Typically, yes, ma'am.
And what's the common name for diazepam?
Valium.
If I show you what's been marked as Exhibit 183 already. Can you see that on the screen beside you?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Right there.
Can you see the levels?
They're all blurry.
Yep, hold on one second. There you go.
My eyesight's not great too, so
Okay, so
That's
I think
perfect.
that's the best I can do with the autofocus.
don't touch it.
Anything about the levels that you observed here regarding those substances, those benzodiazepines, that tell you that they're outside therapeutic concentration levels?
The diazepam and the nordazepam, oxazepam, and temazepam metabolites, the diazepam looks to be sub-therapeutic, meaning lower than what is typically expected from a therapeutic dose. Most therapeutic doses of diazepam, which is an anxiolytic drug or an anti-anxiety drug, are typically 200, 250 thereabouts nanogram per milliliter. The lorazepam, depending upon the dose, could be a therapeutic concentration, if not maybe a little bit lower than expected.
Okay, thank you. Now, when you're reviewing these cases as the reporting forensic toxicologist, are there limitations on what you can say about the effects of these types of medications?
We can speak as to the general effects that drugs can have on the general population, but we try to restrict ourselves from saying with absolute certainty that a drug will have this effect on this specific person, because we just aren't there to witness their behavior.
Okay, so that was kind of the follow-up. So
I'm sorry.
What are the things that are the unknowns for you when you're just looking at data?
When we say that we can't do toxicology in a vacuum. You can't know everything about the case just by looking at numbers on the toxicology report and drugs on a toxicology report. You need other information to have an informed opinion. In the postmortem world, that would be the investigation itself, the history of the case, the scene findings, interviews with families and friends of the decedent, as well as autopsy findings as well. In a case like this, where it's not a decedent and the person is alive, you still need to know some facts of the case, some sort of history of the case, like what happened. So just numbers on a page, you can just make very generalized types of opinions, such as that looks to be therapeutic, it looks to be high, it looks to be low. And then again, just the general effects on the drugs on people.
And in this particular instance, you were not provided any further information about the case or the investigation in order to make any more opinions about effects.
I knew nothing about this case until we spoke, I think it was probably a few weeks ago.
And as far as the information available to you, you only had the data from the specimen that was tested, correct?
That is correct. Just these 4 drugs that were requested to be tested for.
And as far as the drugs, the 4 drugs that were tested by your lab, what are the general characteristics of some of those drugs?
So these are generally antidepressants and antipsychotic medications. So if somebody had, the lamotrigine, if somebody has, say, bipolar disorder, like wild mood swings, depressive episodes or psychotic episodes, these drugs could be prescribed. They also have depressant effects, so they could make people become lethargic or sleepy.
Okay, and would any of the combination of these drugs cause a person to stop breathing?
It's possible, especially the mirtazapine, quetiapine, the trazodone, and then the 2 other benzodiazepines. Those are all central nervous system depressants, so they could in large combinations or large concentrations and in combination with each other cause central nervous system depression, which could reduce people's respiration rates.
But in the levels that you observed in the testing that your lab did, as well as what I just showed you from Exhibit 183, is there anything about those concentration levels that would give you a sense that the person could have stopped breathing as a result of these?
Not necessarily, but if I had the information that, a patient presented to an emergency department and they had labored breathing and weren't breathing adequately, and I had this information, then you could probably tie all that together. But without that extra information, then generally no.
Based on the levels alone, you can't give any sort of opinion.
I would like to not.
Okay. And finally, are you familiar with the drug Narcan?
I am.
And what kind of effect does the drug Narcan have on a person who has consumed these drugs, if any?
Just these drugs that we've talked about here today?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Absolutely nothing.
Can you explain to us why it is that Narcan wouldn't have an effect?
Narcan is an opioid overdose reversal agent. It is an opioid antagonist. So it binds to the opioid receptors. So it doesn't allow other opioids like, say, fentanyl or oxycodone to bind to those receptors to have to exert its effects. So it only works on opioids. None of these drugs work on the opioid receptors, so Narcan would have no effect whatsoever on these drugs.
Okay, thank you.
Attorney Reddington.
Good morning.
Dr. Brower, so one of the things that you had mentioned is that you, and I think I would quote you, I would like not to give an opinion without basically the underlying facts. In other words, what you're saying is that the numbers alone do not tell the tale of what happened to a particular individual, right?
Correct. They don't tell the entire story.
Right. And you're, for NMS Laboratory, you were retained or working for the DA's office, these people here, right?
That was the submitting agency. Correct.
And they certainly were not constrained from picking up the phone and calling you and telling you that this is blood from a woman that threw herself out a window and tried to kill herself after cutting her wrists and her neck. They could have told you that, right?
Overruled.
It's possible that does happen in rare occasions in high-profile cases.
Right. And so that would have been something, for example, the facts that you wanted to know, that you would have liked to have known to kind of round out your opinion about the actual level of the drugs in the blood that you examined, right?
It's not necessary.
Well, it's not necessary, but you did indicate that you would like to not give an opinion without the facts.
Correct.
Okay.
Today.
From the witness stand.
Correct. I don't have all the information.
Of course. And the word therapeutic, is that consistent with, in other words, the treatment level of a particular narcotic or drug in the blood?
Correct. It's the concentration of the drug in the body to elicit an effect or the desired effect.
I believe.
One was that I introduced this doctor at the NMS labs.
Oh,
NMS laboratory records that I introduced, that they were marked for ID.
which one?
Not yesterday.
While she's trying to find the record. As it relates to the therapeutic level, sir, is it your understanding that the lorazepam, perazepam, clonazepam, the council had asked you about the benzodiazepines were within therapeutic, thank you, within therapeutic level?
I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They were within therapeutic level?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the entire question?
Sure. What is lamotrigine?
Lamotrigine is typically used as an anti-seizure medication and could also be used for bipolar disorder.
Okay. Do you have the results for your lab in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Toxicology? Yeah, you can read along just so you can refresh your memory if it helps. The lamotrigine, it says 6.1. What does that mean?
6.1 micrograms per milliliter. So there were 6.1 micrograms of lamotrigine per milliliter of blood.
All right. Is that above therapeutic, below therapeutic, or therapeutic?
It's right in the middle of the therapeutic range.
So if somebody had a prescription, for example, for that narcotic or that drug, then they were taking the drug according to the recommended dose, right?
And that's what it would appear to me if they were prescribed it, correct?
How about the mirtazapine?
The mirtazapine also looks to be probably used appropriately as prescribed.
And you need a prescription for that, don't you?
Yes, you need a prescription for all four of these drugs.
Okay. And is there another name for mirtazapine?
Remeron.
Remeron. All right. And what is the purpose, or what do you use Remeron for?
It's an antidepressant.
How about the quetiapine is the number 3?
The quetiapine is also known as Seroquel, and that is generally used as an antipsychotic.
And what does that mean when you say an antipsychotic? What does that mean?
So somebody has psychotic episodes, say like hallucinations or just not seeing reality like quote normal person would, they could be prescribed quetiapine as an antipsychotic to try to kind of level out their brain chemistry.
And what was the result on the quetiapine?
1,800 nanograms per milliliter.
Now, is that within therapeutic? Is that below or high?
It looks high to me, depending upon the dosage.
Okay. And trazodone is the next one. What is that?
Trazodone is also an antidepressant.
And what's the result on that?
Oh, I'm sorry, 0.44 micrograms per milliliter.
Okay. And is that therapeutic, below therapeutic, or above therapeutic?
I would say that's a therapeutic concentration.
Okay. So basically, with the exception of the quetiapine that was 1,800 nanograms per... What is a nanogram? What does that mean? Nanograms per milliliter. What does that mean?
It's a very, very small amount. It's 1/millionth of a milligram.
Okay. And that's how you measure the quantity of a particular substance that would be in a person's blood, correct?
In the blood, correct.
So on the quetiapine at 1,800 nanograms per milliliter, that's the only one that was not therapeutic. That was a little higher than therapeutic. Is that correct?
Correct. It's approximately maybe double what you might expect. So it's, when I say it's a little elevated, it's not in a concentration that I would consider to be necessarily toxic or lethal.
Okay. And you don't know, working for NMS labs, or whether or not a person had a prescription for these drugs, or when they got the prescription, or who gave them the prescription. You don't know that, right?
I have none of that information, no.
You could have known that if somebody had told you that, but you don't know it from looking at the numbers that we have here, right?
Correct. It's possible if they would have given us that information. We don't always need to have it, though.
Sure. All right, this is what I offered for Caleb's.
Can I just see it again first?
Oh, sure.
Okay, bye. If we can just approach briefly on the issue.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to introduce that exhibit at this time.
Thank you. So just if I may, excuse me, approach it, this basically is an NMS lab report.
Same as this one.
Same numbers on the top, right? Where the square is?
Correct.
Same numbers. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
All right. Yeah, Commonwealth?
Just, Dr. Brower, you in fact, once got this case for review, you authored a corrected report in regards to this case, correct?
Correct.
At this point, I would move to admit the report as
No
submitted.
objection.
All right, that may be admitted as well.
Thank you. Nothing further.
I have nothing further. Thank you, sir.
All right. All right, thank you, Doctor.
Am I released?
You're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, prior to the next witness, the Commonwealth would move to submit 4 stipulations the parties have entered into. The first being a stipulation regarding DNA known standard samples. The second being a stipulation regarding DNA evidence for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain on the basement floor. The third being the stipulation regarding DNA evidence for the yellow exercise band and the black exercise band. And the fourth being a stipulation regarding DNA comparisons for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain in the basement.
That's right. We don't need to have all those witnesses.
All right, so those stipulations may be entered as exhibits. Counsel, do you want those published or read to the jury, or satisfied that they'll have those? The parties can refer to the contents of the
I'm satisfied
stipulations.
the way they're in. Yeah.
The only one we would like to have read to the jury, I'm sorry, are you all set? Take your time.
That's on me. I kind of jumped in there. I'm sorry.
Exhibits 208 through 211. Would be the exhibit 211, the stipulation regarding the comparisons for the blue band and the red-brown stain.
Yeah, I don't, if she wants you to read it, I don't have
Sure.
a problem with it.
Yeah.
I think it was defense that wanted you to read it. I'm fine
Well,
reading it.
you know what? I want to read it. All right, so that's what we'll do. All right, so members of the jury, remember, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I talked a little bit about those stipulations. So the same instructions, all right? These are facts that I'm going to read that the parties have agreed to, that you can rely on in arriving at your verdict at the end of this case. This is one of 4 that was just introduced. You'll have all 4 of them with you back in the jury room when you deliberate. But so let me just read this one stipulation. This doesn't mean this stipulation is any more important than any of the other ones, but the parties would like me to just read this one here. All right, so this is a stipulation regarding the DNA comparisons for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain. It was marked A. Now, in the above captioned matter, the parties agree to the following facts as it pertains to the DNA comparisons for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain A in the basement. Number 1, forensic scientist Emily Oliver reviewed and interpreted the data relating to the question items, parentheses, item 2-4, blue exercise band, and item 3-3, the red-brown stain A from the basement floor, close parentheses, and conducted comparison analysis to the known standards in this case. Number 2, the parties agreed to the following conclusions regarding comparison analysis of these items. A, item 2-4.1.1, sample from the ends of the blue exercise band. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. There are 5 individuals who have a likelihood ratio that indicates an inclusion in the profile. They are Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Cora Clancy, Lindsay Clancy, and Patrick Clancy. B, item 2-4.2.1, sample from the middle of the blue exercise band. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. Callan Clancy is included as a major contributor. And C, item 3-3.1, sample of swabs from the red-brown stain A on the basement floor. The DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. Cora Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. So that's the stipulation that the parties have agreed to. All right.
And one last stipulation to be marked as the next exhibit, the stipulation regarding the batch work done at NMS Labs. We're not asking that this be read at this
Okay,
time.
all right.
The Commonwealth would call Katerina Stashin.
Come on, ma'am. You stop right there, raise your right hand for the pledge, please.
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony and the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury and the matter having between the Commonwealth and the defendant shall be the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. You can have a seat, ma'am.
Watch your step, please.
Thank you. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Attorney Sprague, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Good morning. My name is Katerina Stashin. My first name is spelled Katarina. Last name is spelled Stashyn.
And can you describe for us your educational background?
I have a bachelor's and master's degree in biotechnology from the University of Nevada, Reno.
And what is your occupation?
I'm currently employed by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Forensic Science Division, which is located in Reno, Nevada. I'm a criminalist in the biology and forensic investigation sections.
Back in January of 2023, where were you working?
I previously worked for the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory as a forensic scientist in the DNA unit, which is functionally the same role that I currently have in the biology section.
And
I'm sorry. We agree to the DNA. I'm just letting you know that.
Okay, all right.
and I'm just
Attorney Sprague?
giving that evidence to the jury.
Go ahead.
So when did you start working for the state police?
I worked for the Massachusetts State Police from June 2021 to February of 2025.
And what was the nature of your work for the lab at that time?
As a DNA analyst, I processed evidence items obtained either from a crime scene or from an individual associated with a criminal investigation. These items of evidence would be processed through the laboratory. I then would perform interpretations, comparisons as needed, write reports. I also could perform administrative reviews of other analysts' work and provide expert witness testimony as needed.
And part of your employment at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, did you take competency tests and proficiency tests to guarantee that you were capable and proficient in the areas you were working?
Yes, I took both competency tests after my training and proficiency tests throughout my career at Massachusetts and at my current role.
And have you passed all of those tests?
Yes, I have passed all competency and proficiency tests that I've taken so far in my career.
Can you tell us what is DNA?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and this is genetic information that is stored in our cells. This is information that makes us who we are, determines how we develop and grow. A person's DNA is inherited approximately half from their mom and half from their dad. DNA is forensically relevant because it is expected that no two individuals will have the same forensic DNA profile.
And is DNA the same in every single cell in a person's body?
Yes, the DNA profile obtained from different cells, different cell types like a blood cell or from a saliva cell or cell in your saliva would have the same DNA profile, barring your mutation.
And can you explain generally the process used to analyze evidence, in this case, the testing involving the defendant, Lindsay Clancy?
The items tested in this case and in all cases will go through a 4-step laboratory process of extraction, quantification, amplification, and detection. And then profiles developed from that laboratory process will be interpreted and compared.
Can you just briefly explain what is extraction and how it's done?
Extraction is the first step of that laboratory process that involves applying a variation of heat and chemicals to a sample. This breaks open cells that are present and releases the DNA and then isolates that DNA.
And Was the next step quantification?
Yes.
And what is that and how do you do that?
Quantification is the second step when we determine a reliable estimate for the amount of DNA in those samples that were extracted, and those values are then used to optimize the rest of the process with the goal to obtain a quality profile for that sample.
And the third step, amplification, can you explain that?
Amplification is when we make millions and millions of copies of certain areas of DNA to make it able to be detected and visualized.
And then detection, what is that?
And then the fourth step is separation or detection. This is where we separate out all those millions and millions of copies that we made to make them visual. This produces a DNA profile that an analyst is then able to review and interpret.
And when you worked at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, were there certain standardized protocols and procedures that you used at that lab?
Yes.
And were there controls used in your testing?
Yes.
What does that mean?
So there are two different types of controls that were used in our testing. The first is a positive control. This is a sample that contains a known DNA profile, and it is processed alongside evidence samples. So when that known DNA profile is obtained at the end of the process, it confirms that the process is working appropriately. The second type of control is a negative control, and this is a sample that contains no DNA that is also processed alongside evidence samples, and this is able to monitor any contamination and confirm that clean technique is used during testing.
And does your work undergo a review process at the lab, or did it?
Yes, all work goes through 2 stages of review, technical review and administrative review. Technical review is when another qualified analyst reviews all of the work done in the file and in the report. They confirm that all protocols were followed and that correct conclusions were drawn. And then administrative review is when another analyst reviews that file, all of the documentation and the report for overall clerical accuracy and completeness.
And when you worked on lab number 23-01723, evidence involved in the deaths of Cora Clancy, Dawson Clancy, and Callan Clancy, did you follow the standardized protocols and procedures?
Yes.
Were there any issues with the controls that were present when you did this testing?
All controls were acceptable per the laboratory protocols.
And did your work undergo and pass that review process you just described?
Yes, all work went through both technical and administrative review.
And if we could talk specifically about the work that you did in this case, first, I'd like you to talk about your work done on the yellow exercise band and the black exercise band. Now, you didn't actually handle those items, correct?
I did a portion of the laboratory work for those samples, but I did not handle the actual bands themselves. I handled swabs of those bands.
So at some point in time in the lab, someone took swabs from those bands, and then that was forwarded to the DNA unit, the swabs?
Yes.
Okay. And specifically, there was item 2-2.1.1, swabs from the ends of the yellow exercise band, and item 2-2.2.1, swabs from the middle of the yellow exercise band, correct?
Could I refer to my report to confirm that?
Any objection? Of course.
Thank you. Yes.
And when doing your comparison work, did you also use some DNA profiles that had been generated in the lab for Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy?
Yes, I utilized known standards that were developed from those individuals.
And known standards, are those basically the DNA profiles for each of those individuals?
Yes, known standards are samples collected directly from a known individual for comparison purposes.
Okay. And going to item 2-2.1.1, the swabs from the ends of the yellow exercise band, what were your findings?
So I'm going to start with a general statement for this report as a whole. The presence of multiple first-degree relatives in a mixture DNA profile can impact overall interpretation, including the determination of the number of contributors and likelihood ratios. Relatedness was considered for the following results. For item 2-2.1.1, sample from ends of yellow exercise band located in basement office, 47 Summer Street. The DNA profile is a mixture, including male DNA. Due to the possible relatedness of low-level contributors to this profile, an alternate number of contributors was considered. First, assuming 2 contributors. The DNA profile is a mixture of at least 2 contributors, including male DNA. Contributors 1 and 2 are suitable for comparison. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 2 contributors. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.7 non-nillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile. Assuming 3 contributors. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. Contributor 1 is suitable for comparison. Due to limited information and possible relatedness of contributors, contributors 2 and 3 are not suitable for comparison. The DNA profile from this item is at least 920 octillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from contributor 1 of this DNA profile.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about what you've just told us. You mentioned the effect of relatedness. What does that mean?
So as I mentioned, an individual's DNA is inherited approximately 1/2 from their mom and 1/2 from their dad. So this means that there's a lot of DNA shared between relatives, including between parent and children and between siblings. So this can affect the determination of the number of contributors. So when I review the profile to see how many people are in that profile, because there's so much DNA that is shared. So taking that into account, I did 2 different interpretations, first assuming 2 contributors and the second assuming 3 contributors, again, just due to the complexity of relatedness and its effect on this profile, especially low-level contributors.
And would it be correct to state that when there is this level of relatedness where you have 2 parents and 3 siblings, that you can have false exclusions?
If there is an under-assignment of the number of contributors, meaning that the number of contributors is incorrectly assigned lower than it actually is, which is a possibility with relatedness because you're working with less information because that information is shared, the under-assigning could lead to false exclusions of true contributors.
Could you also miss some people to include?
Due to the effects of relatedness, it could be difficult to determine number of contributors simply because so much information is shared. Therefore, it is more complex when assigning this number.
And for item 2-2.1.1, the ends of the yellow exercise band, whether you considered 2 contributors or 3 contributors, both of your findings find that Dawson Clancy was a contributor, a potential contributor.
Both propositions, either 2 contributors or 3 contributors, had high inclusionary stats for Dawson Clancy, correct?
Okay. What's a nonillion?
Nonillion is a very large number.
Do you know how many people are on Earth?
I know it's...
This is typical DNA gobbledygook at this point, Judge.
Well, I object to his objection.
That's
Ridiculous.
overruled.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
they're going to talk
You can
about
ask.
non-millions and how many.
Counsel, can I see you over at sidebar? All right, Attorney Sprague.
Thank you, Your Honor. 1.7 nonillion, is that more than there are people on the Earth?
That is more individuals that are on the Earth, but I would like to clarify that a likelihood ratio is not a random match probability or a rarity of that profile. A likelihood ratio is a ratio that describes the probability of observing the DNA profile if a certain person is included versus the probability of observing that DNA profile if a certain person is excluded or if it is another unknown, unrelated individual.
And you said 1 million is a very high number, correct?
Yes, that's a very large number in my opinion.
So it's a very large probability that Dawson Clancy is a contributor to that mixture.
It is a large likelihood ratio that provides support for the inclusion of Dawson Clancy to the profile.
And then going to item 2-2.2.1, the swabs from the middle of the exercise band, what were your findings for that?
The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 2 contributors, including male DNA. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.5 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 3.6 million times more likely if it originated from Callan Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Callan Clancy is included as a contributor to this profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.4 billion times more likely if it originated from Patrick Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Patrick Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile. The mixture DNA profile from this item is consistent with having originated from 2 individuals. There are 3 individuals who have a likelihood ratio that indicates an inclusion. Though there is support for the individual inclusions of Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, and Patrick Clancy to the mixture DNA profile, under the stated assumptions, these individuals cannot be present in the mixture together, assuming 1, 2 contributors, and 2, Dawson Clancy is one of the contributors, Callan Clancy and Patrick Clancy cannot be present in the mixture together. Support for inclusion may be impacted by mixtures which contain relative, especially first-degree relatives. Refer to the independent inclusionary statistics above.
So this swab from the middle of the yellow exercise band, you stated was a mixture of 2 contributors, 2 people, correct?
Yes, I determined using my training and experience that the profile was a mixture of 2 contributors.
And then you had 3 possible contributors, Dawson, Callan, and Patrick, for the 2-person mixture. So is it accurate that that relatedness issue was having an effect on those, on that data or that result?
Yes, relatedness of potential contributors was having an effect on this profile. And that is because so much DNA is shared between potential contributors.
And what you stated at the end, that if Dawson Clancy is one of the contributors, then Callan Clancy and Patrick Clancy cannot be present together in that mixture, correct?
Correct.
And Dawson Clancy was the one who had the 1.5 nonillion times more likely if it originated from him, correct?
Yes, the likelihood ratio for Dawson was 1.5 nonillion.
And would it be accurate to state that with male relatives, they share the same YSTR profile?
Yes, male relatives will share the same YSTR profile, barring rare mutation, but YSTR analysis was not done in this case.
Okay. And does that fact, when you have male relatives, does that affect the relatedness complications of your evaluation?
The fact that they're male doesn't necessarily have an effect, but just in general, relatedness has an effect in this case because so much DNA is shared between potential contributors.
And then going to item 2-3.1.1, the swabs from the ends of the black exercise band, you found that that sample was a mixture but wasn't suitable for comparison, correct?
Correct.
And what does it mean to be not suitable for comparison?
I'll read the statement in the report and then I'll clarify as needed. The DNA profile is a mixture, including male DNA, and is not suitable for comparison due to the complexity of the profile, the possibility of at least 5 contributors, and the relatedness of potential contributors.
So was it not suitable for comparison because there were so many potential contributors and many of them who were related?
Yes, there was multiple factors that made this profile not suitable. Relatedness was definitely one of those factors, and per laboratory protocols and validation, if there is any indication of a fifth contributor or more, a profile is not suitable for comparison due to limitations of our technology and software used.
Okay. So basically, if you're examining a profile and it looks like there's 5 or more, your work stops because of the limitations of your equipment.
Correct.
And then going to item 2-3.2.1, the swabs from the middle of the exercise band, what were your findings there?
The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors, including male DNA. The DNA profile from this item is at least 870 trillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.6 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Cora Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Cora Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 2,600 times more likely if it originated from Callan Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Callan Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 220,000 times more likely if it originated from Patrick Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Patrick Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 11 times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides limited support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab DNA Unit validation studies showed inclusions for known non-contributors in the likelihood ratio range of at least 2 to 1,000. Adventitious support could be attributed to this conclusion. The mixture DNA profile from this item is consistent with having originated from 3 individuals. There are 5 individuals who have a likelihood ratio that indicate an inclusion. Though there is support for the individual inclusions of Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy to the mixture DNA profile, under the stated assumptions, these individuals cannot be present in the mixture together, assuming 1, 3 contributors, and 2, Cora Clancy is one of the contributors. Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy cannot be present in the mixture together. Support for inclusion may be impacted by mixtures which contain relatives, especially first-degree relatives. Refer to the independent inclusionary statistics above.
And so again here, you're dealing with the effect of the relatedness of the parties, correct?
Correct. Relatedness is having an effect on potential contributors again to this profile. I'd just like to say that likelihood ratios are calculated independently for each person. They are not to show a likelihood ratio for more than one person or multiple people together in a profile. And again, because so much DNA is shared between potential contributors, that is why we're seeing some of the things we're seeing in this report.
And for this item, the middle of the black exercise band, the highest number of possible inclusion was the 1.6 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Cora Clancy and 2 unknown individuals, correct?
Yes, the highest statistic for this item was a likelihood ratio of 1.6 nonillion for Cora Clancy.
And based on your analysis of the data that you had, you determined it was a mixture of 3 contributors, correct?
Correct.
And so when you have the 3 contributors and Cora Clancy has the highest likelihood of being a contributor, if you include her in the mixture, the other 4 members of the family are excluded, correct?
Assuming 1, 3 contributors, and 2, Cora Clancy is one of the contributors, Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy cannot be present in the mixture together. Again, those statistics are all calculated independently and don't say anything about those people being in the mixture together.
And moving on to some other work you did in this case, specifically some swabs from the backside of the house, some shingles on 47 Summer Street in Duxbury, items 14-1, 14-2, and 14-3. Did you do work on those samples as well and compare them to the known profiles of Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy?
Your Honor, may I refer to my second report for these items? Thank you. Yes, I did work on those items in my second report.
And directing your attention to item 14-1, a swab from stain B on the backside of the house, 47 Summer Street. What were your findings regarding that swab?
The female DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. The DNA profile from this item is at least 18 octillion times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. This provides support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, and Patrick Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile.
And so unlike the samples and profiles we talked about earlier, this sample 14-1, the swab from stain B, wasn't a mixture, correct? It was just one person's DNA?
Correct. This was a single contributor profile.
And your findings was that Lindsay Clancy is at least 18 octillion times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy than an unknown, unrelated individual.
The DNA profile from this item is at least 18 octillion times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. This provides support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile.
And so it's support that she's included as a contributor to this profile of one person, correct?
Yes, there is support with a likelihood ratio of 18 octillion for Lindsay Clancy.
And the other members of the family were excluded, correct?
Correct.
And then item 14-2, the swab from stain C on the backside of the house, 47 Summer Street. That profile was a mixture and not suitable for comparison, correct?
Correct. The DNA profile is a mixture and is not suitable for comparison due to the quality of the profile.
And what does it mean when something's not suitable due to the quality of the profile?
This was a low-level profile with not enough information to be interpreted.
Do you have to have a certain level of information in the data to make findings based on your protocols and procedures at the lab?
Yes, there are protocols and procedures that determine how we can determine our number of contributors, and therefore if there's not enough information, a profile is not suitable for interpretation or comparisons.
And then item 14-3, the swab from stain D on the back of the home, 47 Summer Street. What were your findings for that swab?
The female DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. The DNA profile from this item is at least 96 trillion times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. This provides support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, and Patrick Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile.
And again, this is a single contributor, so the DNA profile of one person was found on the swab, correct?
Correct.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Reddington? All right. Thank you, Ms. Step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Commonwealth would call Elaine Rossi as its next witness.
Thank you.
Good morning. Please stop right there. Raise your right hand to the clerk, please.
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony and the evidence you shall give to the council are having contained
Let's stop right there, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. All right. Counsel.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jurors your first and last name?
My first name is Elaine Rossi,
Can you spell your last name for the record?
Rossi.
And what city or town do you live in?
I live in Kingston.
What do you do for work?
I'm a nanny
How long have you been a nanny?
for about 15 years now.
In July of 2022, did you become familiar with the Clancy family?
I did.
And how did you become involved with their family?
I answered a Facebook advertisement seeking a part-time nanny position.
And who posted that advertisement?
Lindsay did.
And did she respond to your message?
I responded to her message.
Right. And so you said you were interested, right?
I did.
And then did she respond to you?
She did.
So did you have then communication back and forth with her about possibly taking on a nannying position for their family?
Yes, we did.
That was on July 22nd of 2022 that that initial back and forth occurred, correct?
Correct.
And as a result of your initial communication with her, did you end up setting up a time to come meet their family?
We did.
And how did that happen? Where did you meet them?
I met at their residence in the backyard of their home.
And that would be 47 Summer Street in Duxbury?
Correct.
And when you went to their home, were you able to meet the children?
Yes.
And how many children were there?
3.
And who were they?
Cora, Dawson, and Callan.
And present at that meeting that you had in their backyard were also Patrick and Lindsay Clancy?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of kind of meeting at their home in the backyard?
It was to get familiar with the kids, just for an introductory meeting. I got to hold Callan and play with Cora and Dawson a little bit and talk to Lindsay and Patrick.
And so at that time, Cora was 4, right?
Yes.
And Dawson was 3.
Yes.
And Callan was an infant.
Yes.
Now, as a result of your kind of interview or interaction with them, what eventually happened with your relationship with the Clancys? Did you become their nanny?
I did.
And did you communicate with Lindsay about what the expectations of the job were going to be?
I did.
So what was your role or your expectations of the role?
My role was to take care of Callan when she went back to work.
Okay, and did you know when that was expected to happen?
I believe right around Thanksgiving.
And did you start working for them prior to that? Prior to November?
Yes, I did. I started first week in September of 2022.
And so while the original terms were for you to primarily watch Callan, did you take on a slightly different role in between September and November?
I did.
And so what were the responsibilities, or what did the Clancys ask you to do for the family during the time of September through essentially when you stopped working for them?
It was to get to know the family, to get to know how they worked as a family, to get to know their schedule, and essentially mostly to take care of Callan. Occasionally, Cora and Dawson would be home, and I would interact with them as well.
So going into it, you knew that you would sometimes be spending time with Cora and Dawson.
Yes.
But to your understanding, were they at the home all the time?
No, they were at school.
And other than caring for Callan, did you agree to take on some other responsibilities in the household?
I did.
And what were those responsibilities?
It was food prep, light housekeeping, laundry, things like that.
Was that something that you offered to do as part of your services, or were you asked to do it?
I offered initially. I said those were things I did as a nanny for previous families.
And what was your expected schedule going to be for the Clancys?
It was 3 days a week. I believe it was 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.
And was the 3 days a set schedule, or was the expectation that it might change?
Initially it was set and then it changed.
As far as your original expectation, fair to say, you were originally asked to do Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays?
Correct.
And then as you started working for them, you were asked to kind of adjust some of the days.
Yes.
And was that something that you could do?
If I could, I would.
And how about the time? You said from 8:30 to 1:30. Were the times flexible too?
Yeah, sometimes it was 9 to 1:30. That was about the only difference.
Okay.
It was about a half hour.
And how would you communicate with Lindsay?
So we communicated via text a lot. Lindsay also had a notebook in her kitchen that we communicate. Oh, she would leave notes for me for the activities or the instructions for me for the day.
Okay. And you said the week of Labor Day, that was your first week with the Clancy family, right? And primarily during that week, did you care for Callan?
Yes, I did.
Did they come to call you something particular as far as like a nickname?
They called me Lainey.
Okay. And that was something the kids called you as well as Patrick and
Yes.
Lindsay? So, I'm going to just show you what's been marked as Exhibit 150.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If you want to just take a quick look inside of it. You can flip through the pages
Okay.
if that's helpful.
Okay.
Does the handwriting in that notebook look familiar to you?
It does.
And fair to say there's two different handwritings, right? Did you come to know one of the handwritings as Lindsay's handwriting?
I thought all of it was Lindsay's.
Okay, but as far as the second set of handwriting, do you recognize?
Oh, it's mine.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And so is this the notebook that you would kind of communicate with her back and forth about Callan and his schedule?
It is.
And fair to say she left you pretty detailed instructions
She did.
on his care.
Yes, she did.
And you were aware that she was very particular about sleep and food and keeping on a schedule, right?
Yes.
And so that's the purpose of this notebook.
Yes.
When you would come to the household in the morning, would you often interact with Lindsay prior to taking care of taking the baby?
Sometimes if she was there, I would interact with her. Some mornings she wasn't there.
If she wasn't there, was Patrick home?
Yes.
And did you know where she was when she wasn't there?
Sometimes she'd leave in the notebook that she was in the basement working out. Sometimes she'd drop the kids off to school.
And would you often see her throughout the day when you were there from your 9 to 1 shift?
Yes.
But there would be times when you would see her come back to the home?
Yes.
And in those times when she left, sometimes she had the other 2 children with her, correct?
Correct.
And sometimes she did not.
No.
At times, were you left with all 3 children?
I think on one occasion I was.
And would you get there before or after Cora and Dawson would be off to school usually?
Most times I would be pulling in the driveway and they would be waiting to say goodbye to me or hello to me.
And you're aware that they did not have school on Tuesdays, right? Were you aware?
I don't remember, sorry.
Okay. When you started working for the Clancy family, was there conversation with Lindsay about Callan not taking a bottle?
I don't remember that.
Did you often feed him a bottle when you were caring for him?
I did.
And do you recall at one point that you actually videoed Callan taking a bottle and sent it to Lindsay?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes.
And that would have been on September 9th, correct?
Yes.
At this point, Your Honor, I'd like to just play a short video
really, I object. I don't have a, let the jury see the video.
Could I see? All right, Attorney Buckingham?
Your Honor.
You happy about that? He's loving it.
Ms. Rossi, is that the video that you took of Callan taking the bottle?
Yes, it was.
And fair to say you sent that video to Lindsay Clancy on September 9th of 2022?
Yes, I did.
At this point, I'd move to admit a copy of that clip
All right.
as the next.
With no objection, that may be admitted.
Exhibit 213.
In your care of the children, were you ever permitted to take them outside of the household, like to the park or the library or anything?
I took Callan for a walk on one occasion, and I took Cora and Dawson to a tumble fun gymnastics class.
Okay. And that would have been in October of 2022 that you took Cora and Dawson, correct? When you went to Tumble Fun, what is that?
It's a toddler, like, gymnastics place, indoor gymnastics place.
Did you only take Cora and Dawson, or did you also take Callan?
Just Cora and Dawson.
Okay. And why was it that you took them on this particular day?
Lindsay had mentioned to me that they had tumble fun, but they wouldn't be going because she couldn't drive.
Okay.
So I offered to take them.
Did she tell you why she couldn't drive at that time?
She didn't.
So you took them, did you drive her car or your own car?
I drove her car.
And you were able to bring them home, correct?
Correct.
Did you notice anything different when you came back to the home on that day?
I didn't.
During the course of the time in which you were at the Clancy's house, fair to say from September to early December is the time that you were there, 3 days a week?
Yes.
Did you come to find out that Lindsay was having some issues?
I did.
Did she talk to you about that?
She did.
And what did she tell you about her issues?
She shared with me that she was suffering from postpartum.
Now, when she shared this information with you, had you noticed anything different about her demeanor or her presentation around the house?
I didn't at all.
Had her trips out of the house when you were there stopped or decreased during that time period?
No.
And did she tell you that at that time that she was seeing some doctors?
She did.
What about medication? Did you have any conversations with her about her taking medication during that time period?
I think we talked about she was going to stop a medication because she was trying to stop nursing.
That she was going to stop medication or she was going to start medication?
I think she was trying to stop something because she was going to, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
She was not going to nurse Callan anymore because she was going to be starting a new medication.
Did she ever give you any details about the medication?
She didn't.
Do you recall seeing prescription bottles around the house?
I did.
Did you ever learn from Lindsay that she had gone to the emergency room in November of 2022?
No.
How about going to the emergency room in December of 2022?
No.
Did anything about your arrangements with coming on the 3 days, caring for Callan and sometimes Cora, did any of that ever change because of what she reported to you about having postpartum?
Only at the end of my time with them.
Okay, we'll get there in a second. But did you have the occasion to observe her interacting with the children?
I did.
And did you have any concerns about her interacting with the children?
None at all. She was a wonderful mom.
Did she have any further conversation with you about maybe more specific sleep or sleep issues that she had been having during the time period you were nannying for them?
She did.
And what did she tell you about that?
She told me she was having difficulty sleeping and that she was sleeping in the basement.
Now, when you would watch Callan and she would be in the basement, would you often see her in the basement?
No.
And one of the things you said that you sometimes did was do some laundry, right? And where was the laundry in the Clancy house?
It was in the basement.
And so you'd have to go through that living room area down there where the couch was to get back to the laundry room?
Yes, it was in the back.
How about working out in the basement? Do you recall if you went down the basement stairs to the right that there'd be like a little area where there'd be weights and that kind of thing? Did you ever see her working out there?
I don't recall if I did.
Okay. As far as the medications, do you recall where you observed the medications in the house?
Yes, they were in to the right of the refrigerator, I believe in a cabinet.
And you had to go into the Patrick and Lindsay's bedroom, right?
I did.
Fair to say Callan's crib was in there.
It was.
So do you recall ever seeing medications in the bedroom?
I didn't.
Now, you had mentioned that you knew Lindsay to be going back to work in November, correct? Were you advised or did you know that she was originally scheduled to go back in October, but then bumped it back to November?
I didn't know
that. But as you began working for them, that November date was in mind, right?
Yes.
Moving to Thanksgiving of 2022, did something change about the plan for her to go back to work?
Yes, I came in, I think it was a few days after Thanksgiving, maybe the day after Thanksgiving, and Lindsay was in the kitchen, and I had expected her to be asleep.
Why was that?
Because I thought she was working that shift, that Thanksgiving shift. And she told me that she wouldn't be going back to work.
And was there any further conversation of what the plan was for you and the family during that time period?
No, I think I mentioned if she wasn't going back to work and that if they didn't need me, if they could let me know.
Okay. And so do you recall being at the home at one point where Patrick and Lindsay left the house and came back?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that interaction?
Of course, Patrick and Lindsay went for a walk, and when they returned, I was in the living room on the floor with Callan, and they came in and told me that they would have to let me go because Lindsay would not be going back to work, and the two of them would be home to care for the children.
Okay. And so did they give you anything else, any other information about why Lindsay wasn't going back to work during that meeting?
No.
Okay. And did they give you some time to kind of make other arrangements after that?
They did. I believe they gave me 2 weeks.
And during that time after Thanksgiving, did you have the occasion to see Lindsay interacting with the kids in the home?
I did.
And was anything about your observations of her different?
Nothing.
Now, the kids themselves, you had the occasion to spend some time with Cora. And how would you describe Cora?
Oh, Cora was a girly girl who loved her babies very much. She was very sweet, and she loved arts and crafts and loved playing with her Fresh Mart, which was a little children's supermarket. She was lovely.
And Dawson, how about him? How would you describe him?
Dawson was full of energy, rambunctious, funny, silly.
Did you ever have any problem watching Dawson or keeping him under control? Or
Not at all. I was only with him on a handful of occasions.
Did you ever see Dawson kind of interacting with his siblings, with Cora or with Callan?
I did.
And did you see anything, or could you tell us a little bit about Dawson's interactions with them?
Cora and Dawson played well. There was one occasion in the kitchen where they were playing, and I think Cora took one of his Play-Doh, something. He was playing with Play-Doh, and his reaction, he was frustrated, and he reached out and slapped Callan.
Now, were you alone with the kids during this interaction, or was Lindsay present too?
Lindsay was, I think, in the kitchen at the same time.
Did you see her react to that when she saw that behavior?
She did.
And what was the reaction? What did she do?
She went over and removed Callan. She removed Dawson from the room and came back and consoled Callan.
And eventually, did you see her go back and kind of talk to Dawson about his behavior and address it? Okay. And was that appropriate in your opinion?
Of course, yes.
How about how you would describe Callan? How would you describe him? You spent the most time with him, correct?
I did. He was the happiest, sweetest, easiest baby. He was just a love.
Thank you. If Lindsay had told you in one of these exchanges, and again, you exchanged mostly either in this notebook or via text, right?
Correct.
If she told you about working out, do you know if she wasn't in the basement where she would go to work out?
I think it was the Kingsbury Club.
And as far as when you stopped working for them, do you remember exactly when it was? You said maybe 2 weeks after
I think
Thanksgiving.
it was December 8th or December 10th.
And in the time that you were with the Clancys in their households, caring for their kids, interacting with Patrick and Lindsay, did you ever have any concerns that the children were not safe?
No.
Thank you.
All right, Cross.
Morning.
Good morning.
So you first met Lindsay and Patrick and the kids in, was it July of 22?
Yes.
And then you were hired, obviously, and you then took over as a nanny.
Yes,
You got a lot of years of experience as a nanny, don't you?
I do.
And this was that you wanted to kind of pick up some more hours, and that's why you fortunately reached out to the two of them and ended up taking care of those
Yes.
kids. So from July until, what was it, November after Thanksgiving, or was it early December that they had the walk, and then they came in and told you that she was going to
Early
be home?
December.
Early December. And you all left on good terms, right?
Oh, wonderful terms.
Yeah. I mean, you guys stayed in touch with each other. You texted them Christmas, things of that nature, right?
I did reach out to Lindsay to wish her a Merry Christmas.
Did she respond?
She did.
Would you agree that on March 1st of 2023, the state police interviewed you for about a half hour or longer about your observations of the Clancy family?
Yes.
Do you recall that the trooper, were there one or two of them, if you remember?
I believe there were two.
Yeah. Do you recall the trooper asking you questions about your observations of the Clancy family with particular focus on Lindsay? They were asking you about how well you knew her, what you thought of her, what she did as far as a mother in your presence.
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you.
I apologize. They wanted to know what kind of a mother she was, right?
Yes.
And you were able to respond to that, right?
I did.
They also wanted to know any observations that you had about her use of prescription drugs, right?
Yes.
And you were forthcoming on that as well, right? They also wanted to know whether or not you observed or she made any statements about any symptomology or symptoms that she might have been having that were causing her difficulty, right?
Yes.
Do you recall indicating to the troopers that, in your opinion, that she was a loving and a doting mother?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what that means? I mean, what did you observe about what did you observe about her as a mother interacting with her kids?
I observed a wonderful mom who loved her kids, she was very concerned with their safety. She was very concerned with Callan's eating and sleeping. She was a wonderful mother.
And the district attorney asked you questions about what apparently is Exhibit 150 in this case. And that's the book that she would write notes to you on, and then you would on occasion write notes back to her. Is that right?
Yes.
So when the district attorney asked you to identify her writing, so like also there were like photographs like that in the book as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know who would draw that? Would she draw that or would you draw that?
I think I drew that.
You do that one?
Yeah, I think so.
And for example, Thursday, September 29th, it says Callan last fed time, put him down for a nap at 9:35 with a smiley face. We will be home, clean the clothes in the dryer if you get to it. And then Callan up at 10:45. And then some scribbling mark on the bottom. That's an indication of the type of notes that she would leave for you.
Correct.
Would she also leave notes for you to the effect of cutting up sweet potatoes and cutting up celery and things in 1-inch squares so that the kids to eat?
Yes, food prep, yes.
Did you find that to be overbearing or
Well, not at all.
you didn't find that to be controlling, that she was trying to exert a control over you, did you?
Not at all.
Felt that was appropriate for her to tell you about the cutting up of the vegetables and squares and things?
Yes.
She also told you during that period of time that she was unable to sleep. Isn't that right?
Correct.
Told you that lack of sleep was becoming a significant impact on her life, and that she had to see doctors and was on medication for that, right?
Correct.
Again, the troopers were questioning you and directing you on your questions or your answers. And at one point, you recall saying to the trooper, I loved my Lindsay?
I loved my Lindsay.
Yeah.
I don't recall saying that.
Okay, did you?
Do I love Lindsay?
Yeah.
I did love Lindsay, yes.
Now, when was she sleeping in the basement? Do you remember that?
Do I know when or why?
When was she sleeping in the basement?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember, if I suggest to you that it was around the end of November, mid-December, that she was sleeping in the basement for a period of time? If you remember.
I don't remember, I'm sorry.
Okay. Did she indicate to you why she was sleeping in the basement?
I don't think she did.
Would you agree that she was forthright with you as far as telling you what was going on in her life, as far as her concentration and her inability to sleep and things of that nature?
Yes.
Sustained.
Would she tell you about those problems that she was suffering?
She shared with me that she had postpartum and that she couldn't sleep.
And as a result of that, you were pretty concerned for her, weren't you?
I really don't know much about postpartum, but I would always ask her how she was feeling
Right.
or how she was doing.
And in fact, you noted that in addition to the inability to sleep, that she would speak about that she was unable to focus. Do you recall her ever saying she had difficulty focusing on things?
I don't recall her saying that to me.
How about thin? Did you notice that she appeared to be losing significant weight?
I did, and I commented to her about that.
Okay. And you had occasion to see her as a mother playing with the children, obviously, right?
Yes.
Would the two of you stay in touch with each other by text even when she was out and you were home and they're home with the kids?
Yes.
Fair to say that you would take many, many videos of the kids and send them to Lindsay on her phone, right?
I did.
And fair to say that during that period of time from your involvement, Ms. Rossi, as a nanny, that you sent her videos of the children playing, and as we saw the baby taking a bottle and the baby eating and things of that nature, right?
I did.
Did she ever send you any videos, or did she ever respond to your emails or videos?
Yes, she responded to most of my texts she responded to.
Did she seem to be appreciative of your work?
Yes, very much so.
And in fact, she was pretty vocal about that. She thought the world of you, right?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Redirect?
Just one question. In all that she told you about postpartum sleep and all that you observed in the house, did you ever have any conversations with her about intrusive thoughts or thoughts of harming yourself?
No.
Thank you. Okay.
Anything on that?
No.
All right, you may step down. Thank you. Thank you. Counsel, could I see it? Case will be in recess till tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
With we're not coming, there's nothing scheduled at 2 o'clock in this matter any further, okay? So this court, on this case, will be in recess till tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
All righty, squad. Well, that is it for today. We knew this was going to be a short day. The judge had mentioned that yesterday. They're working on a lot of things behind the scenes. I imagine they're probably working on their jury instructions and other exhibits that are coming in. There are many of you new here, so I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Christy Brower. I am the co-host of the podcast, True Crime Squad. This is our companion channel that we use for trial streaming. Our main channel is True Crime Squad on YouTube and on all the podcast apps. So welcome. It's nice to have so many of you new here. I appreciate that so much. Sorry, I know I realized that you guys heard me tell my son to be quiet. That's funny. I wanted to tell you, if you're wondering why I have a lot to say about the medication, the mental health aspect of this trial, it is because I am a social worker by education. I also have a family member with a psychotic disorder. So I do have a lot of experience professionally and personally when it comes to this type of illness, as well as these medications, which is honestly why you will see that I lean more toward seeing Lindsay as a mentally ill person who committed these murders while not competent, while not in her right mind. And there is a lot of evidence of that, and I think we're going to see a lot more evidence of it. I learned some things today. I went and did some searching about the prosecutors because I wanted to better understand. I have been very confused about some of the things that they are doing. And also, yes, agreeing with the chat, best chat ever. We have a very kind chat here. We do not allow any trolling. We do not allow meanness. That's not tolerated here. So if you're looking for a kinder place to land, you are certainly allowed to disagree with one another and to disagree with me. That's okay. But we don't allow attacking and that kind of thing. Gosh, just lost my train of thought here. But you will see, and some people tell me I have a bias, and I mean, we all have a bias. Everyone does. But I do see the evidence of the mental illness here. I also, the prosecutors. So these two prosecutors work as a team, and they prosecute primarily child abuse and domestic violence cases. And that's helped me to better understand their approach to this case. They're just basically ignoring the mental health aspect and prosecuting this is just straight up child abuse murders. And unfortunately, I think this case is a lot more complex than that. And not to minimize at all what Lindsay did, or the loss of these children, or the grief caused to Patrick and everyone else in their family. This is horrific, and it's horrific in every way. But I do think that it would serve justice better to see Lindsay Clancy go into a mental health hospital type setting rather than a prison. And those really are the only two options in this case. I also do not believe that the Commonwealth has proven that she commit first-degree murder. I don't see malice aforethought here. I know that they want to use the sending Patrick to CVS and to get takeout as forethought, but I don't think that it is. I think that's just how they live their lives. Lindsay stayed home with the kids and Patrick ran and did the errands and things. That was their life. And we're looking at a tiny, very narrow snapshot. That's what the prosecution wants us to see, is this very narrow view of what I think is a much more complex case. I really appreciated the testimony of the nanny, who said that, yeah, Lindsay was a great mom. She was never afraid. She was never afraid of the safety of the kids with Lindsay. This was wildly out of character for her, which does lend toward psychosis because people do things when they're psychotic that they would not normally do. There are also a lot of different ways for someone to be psychotic, and you can be experiencing command hallucinations, you can be experiencing delusional thinking, which is a form of psychosis, and still be functioning and looking like a normal person on the outside. We don't know what's going on in everybody's head. The idea that the only example of psychosis is the example that the prosecutor used a couple of days ago, which is seeing pink unicorns in the corner, is very limiting and is not actually accurate at all. But yeah, I found it interesting to learn about the prosecutors a little bit more. Also, the bow. We're all talking about the bow, right? That is not something that Shannon, what is her name? Sorry, let me look it up again. I have it in my notes. It is Shannon Buckingham. She does not normally wear that bow. It is not something she's known to wear in other trials. These prosecutors have worked together for many years. She does not normally wear the bow. She mentioned in her opening statement that Cora Clancy liked to wear bows and that Lindsay put big bows in her hair. And so it is very possible that this is a nod to Cora Clancy, as some people have said, and I think very likely so, that it is a way to rattle Lindsay Clancy as well. Because it is odd. I mean, all of us that grew up wearing bows in our hair are looking at an adult woman prosecutor going, they make you look like you're a child. It is odd, but it does appear to be intentional. She has worn either a black or a white bow every single day of this trial. I've been keeping track because I've been really puzzled by the bow thing, and I finally did a bunch of research on her today. It is not like a signature thing that she always wears. It is specific to this trial. I did some research also. Is she known to dress in ways that pay homage to victims in her trials? Because that is a known thing that some prosecutors do. And there is no history for this as far as other trials are concerned. This is the first one that at least maybe she thought, wore particular colors or whatever, but this is very obvious. So it does appear that it is likely a nod to Cora Clancy and may in fact be a way to try to rattle Lindsay Clancy. It is strange. I find it odd. It makes her look juvenile in a situation where she needs to be taken very seriously. But to each their own. It's clearly a conscious choice. A lot of the evidence today, like yesterday, was kind of inane and pointless. Like the DNA, for example. The defense is not disputing any of the evidence and is not disputing that those exercise bands were used to strangle the children and that Lindsay Clancy did it. She is not disputing that she killed her children. And to still put the jury through that mind-numbing testimony is an interesting choice. I did appreciate the toxicology texts that were in today, particularly the second one. He talked very specifically about the medication that was in her blood. And there are a couple of medications that were in her blood that are very important to the defense. The one is lamotrigine, which is Lamictal. Lamictal is first an anti-seizure medication, but is also used to treat bipolar disorder. And the defense is positing that Lindsay has been developing bipolar disorder since her first pregnancy, and that there is an indication of that in her reported symptoms and in the medication she's being given, because Lamictal or lamotrigine is used as a mood stabilizer. It's not something you give someone who has just straight up depression. It is a mood stabilizer, someone who has mood instability. That's leaning more toward bipolar disorder. The other medication is the quetiapine or Seroquel, which is an antipsychotic medication. So she was being treated for mood stability. She was also being treated for psychosis. The prosecution says that she wasn't and that she didn't report those things. And they've been really ridiculous about saying, well, she never said she was psychotic, which we know A hallmark of being psychotic is that you don't know you're psychotic. Okay. That's just very real. And you'll hear many doctors say that. A person can't report that they are psychotic. That is something that is observed in assessment and often can hide for a significant amount of time until someone might say or do something that seems very odd and very disconnected from reality. And that's when you know, wait a minute, this person might be psychotic. They are disconnected from reality. They no longer can reality test, which means they can't tell the difference between their psychosis and what's real. Because when it's happening inside someone's head, there's no difference between the real things that they are seeing and the hallucinations that they are seeing. You can't tell the difference when it's happening to you. So I found that interesting. Also, she had a hell of a lot of benzos in her system, and she had a lot of drugs in her system, period. And that's one of the defense's theories, is that part of what destabilized her was the amount of medication she'd been prescribed and the number of medication and the number of changes over time. Which when you start messing with mental health meds, they don't just work out of your system as soon as you stop taking them. They take weeks to build up, and then they often can take a significant amount of time to work their way out of the system as well. So it's really important to understand that just because she stopped taking a med did not mean it was no longer affecting her, and then building way too many more meds on top of that. We've been having a discussion in the chat about how when significant medication changes are made, that often people are hospitalized for that period of time, which is really important and is best standard of care, particularly when someone is struggling so much. Like, the reason they were changing the meds all the time is because they weren't working. Yeah, she did have to throw in there that Seroquel can be prescribed for sleep. But when he talked about how much Seroquel she had in her system, that's not for sleep. Little doses of Seroquel are used for sleep. Big doses are used for psychosis. And she had a lot of Seroquel in her system, according to the toxicology tech. But yeah, why was she not hospitalized and stabilized? And that can take a period of time. That can take a week, 2 weeks. It can take longer even. But it is extremely beneficial because the person is kept safe and the doctor is able to work with them and experiment with different medications until they find a balance. That was never done for Lindsay. She was just pushed around. I am not an actual clinician, McLovin. I am a social worker, and I am also a family member of someone with a psychotic disorder. So I do have a lot of experience with this. Right, Seroquel can be prescribed for sleep. It depends on the dosing. But the issue here is that no one, of all of the providers that she saw, no one really took ownership of Lindsay and her illness and supported her through that process. And that is really unfortunate and is something that we need to improve in our medical care system. And we especially need to improve for women with postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. It is extremely important that we understand these illnesses better, because look at when they go incorrectly treated, look what can happen. I don't believe for 1 minute that Lindsay Clancy wanted to kill her children, that she wanted them to be dead, or that she wanted to kill herself. All of this came together in an absolutely horrific combination. Yeah, and I agree with you, Jackie, that she needs to go to a mental health institution. She can be, the problem with putting someone like Lindsay Clancy in prison is that she won't be treated. We don't do a good job of treating mental illness in our country in prisons. The only time people are medicated is if they are a severe risk of harm to themselves or someone else. And so someone who's experiencing psychosis gets sicker and sicker and sicker in a situation like that for many reasons. And in a medical facility she would be actually treated. Right. She probably would take her own life in prison. I agree. We just have to figure this out. And that's why this case is really important to cover and talk about, is that we have realities in our system, which is what Lindsay Clancy has experienced. And we have what could get better. And that's what we need to do. Right. Right. So, Seroquel is useful for many different things. Appreciated. Definitely. But right. Yeah. Insomnia related psychosis, which it appears may have been part of the issue with Lindsay. She had a terrible time sleeping. And if you listen to a couple of days ago, they were reading from her journals. She had become very paranoid about her baby, Callan. Callan, every time he cried, the cry seemed wrong. He cried too much. He seemed like there was something the matter with him, and she couldn't figure it out. She was having trouble bonding with him. Sometimes when people are psychotic, well, not sometimes, a lot of the time when people are psychotic, they know something is wrong, but they don't perceive that the problem's in themselves. It gets projected out onto someone else. Often that is a family member, a partner, someone close to them, a child, where the wrongness of the situation is manifesting in a way that is not reality. And it seemed to me, in what was being said about the issues that she had with Callan, that she was projecting that out onto Callan, and that's where the psychosis was manifesting itself. Yeah, as Patrick said, I didn't marry a monster. I married a woman who got sick, right? Christy says, I was talking with a coworker about this case yesterday. She shared that she had PPD after having her first child, and it took 5 years to be resolved. So her first child is her only child. She never dared have another baby. Yeah. Gabriel says, someone in my family is in prison and they have Parkinson's, and it's an absolute nightmare. They constantly mess up her meds. It's a nonviolent crime. Yeah, it's not a good place for folks with mental illness. Prisons are not. It's not a safe place for people with mental illness either. So that's what we got today. Pretty interesting. I still don't see any evidence of premeditation. They're interpreting some things that she did as premeditation, but where's actual evidence of Lindsay saying, I want to kill my kids. I'm planning to kill my kids. She wrote everything down, you guys. Did she write it down? She clearly didn't, or they would have shown that already. I just don't think the intent is there. Janie, yes, having worked as a nurse in a prison, yeah, rough. Right, 50 milligrams for sleep, 400 plus for psychosis in Seroquel. Exactly. Yeah, I've seen both dosages used in my own family member. And I'll tell you what, they're like two different drugs at those two different doses and their impact. Shara says, I wonder if she came to herself. Sorry, my chat jumped. I wonder if she came to herself after she killed them and realizing what she had done, then tried to kill herself. It's possible, but I actually think it was probably all one action. That all she knew to do was to just take everybody out because she could not resolve what was happening in her own head. I mean, she was not kidding about taking her own life. She took an overdose. She cut her wrists and her neck, regardless of how so-called superficial the prosecution wants it to be. She did those things, and she threw herself out a second-story window and blew up some of her vertebrae, causing herself to be a paraplegic. She was not kidding in that suicide attempt. Right. Gabriel, it's very true. This trial is about science. But that's not how it's being presented at all. It's being presented as a straight up child abuse murder trial. That's what the prosecution, that's their take. It's not landing for me. I know many of you have said it's not landing for you. I wonder how it's landing for the jury. What are they thinking about all of this? something that we just don't know. That's the wild card. One thing I can tell you, I think, is that they are heavily affected by everything that they're hearing. The way that the judge is so careful with them, and all of the days are short. Even this day is a half day, but even the regular days are short. He is being very careful about how much he is throwing at them at once. And he very often will be the one to call for a sidebar and then tell them we're done for the day. They can only take in so much because of how traumatic this experience is. Let's see, Janie says this is so common in psychiatric illness. They fall through the cracks, especially it is seen as less than serious, especially when female. It's true. We know that's true in our system. We also know that is especially true in mothers. Mothers are just supposed to love their children and do everything perfectly. That is what our society says. And so women who don't feel that way and can't experience motherhood that way because of a mental illness are stigmatized. They're not helped, they're stigmatized. And we're seeing that. Right, Shara, she definitely tried to kill herself. It was not a half-hearted attempt. Yeah, it definitely was not. Good question, Gabriel. Gabriel says, I've always wondered how constrained the nurses are in prison. She's a level 2 and was supposed to see a neuro in 6 months. 9 months later, she still hasn't. Yeah, I mean, that's the other part of putting her in a prison is that she is seriously neurologically damaged. And being able to take care of her in a way that makes sense, hospitalization makes much more sense to me than prison does. JD says, I had to quit nursing in prison because the staff was so hard. Empathy was discouraged, and they referred to people reporting an illness as he is bored or he wanted to take a walk. Yeah. Our prison system does not care about people, that's for sure. Yeah, and I agree with you, Shara, that she should have been in a facility while they were trying out these different meds and getting therapy daily and, you know, working toward an end goal. There didn't seem to be a cohesive treatment plan with an end goal in this case. It was more just throwing meds at the problem. And a lot of her appointments, because it was still COVID, were done by Zoom, which honestly in mental health can be real dicey. You don't always get the real story when you aren't seeing somebody face to face. Yeah, the sleep training her baby was very, very traumatic for her. Lindsay was obviously in a really fragile state. And I think that Patrick did the best he could at the time. He's the only person working in the home. And so he's trying to make money and keep everything going. Well, with a spouse that is not able to fully do that themselves. I also think it was a real mistake to not continue having nannies in the home. She obviously needed that help and really collapsed after they didn't have a nanny anymore. And for someone experiencing a serious and pervasive mental illness like she was, caring for 3 children is overwhelming. All righty. Well, thank you very much. Yes, Lindsay is on house arrest with an ankle monitor. Well, oh, I wanted to say this. Some people have commented about how flat affect she is. She's very likely medicated. She is on house arrest, and so she's very likely being treated now. I will not say she's always flat, though, because she has cried a lot in this trial. And she has tried to hide the fact that she's crying because she's not supposed to cry in front of the jury. That is something that she has for sure been talked to about from her attorney. But she has cried a whole lot. But she is pretty flat, but I do think she's likely medicated. It's a good point, Gabriel. Gabriel says, I think part of the public blaming him is because we didn't blame Andrea Yates' husband when we should have. Right. And that was a really different situation because Andrea Yates' husband had been told, you should not be having any more kids, and Andrea should not be left alone with your children. Those things were not said to Patrick. Nobody told Patrick that, like from a clinical standpoint. They did tell Rusty Yates that. And he got his wife pregnant again, and he left her alone with their children. So a little different. Oh, wow. Janie says, my son was killed 15 years ago. I'm so sorry. And I had insomnia-related psychosis. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. It's lucky I didn't kill my remaining child or myself, right? It's a very dangerous time. So I take it they don't think she will attempt suicide, or she's being supervised. Her attorney said in his opening that she still wants to take her own life every single day. Can you imagine living with what she's done? I can't. Yeah, she is continuing to be a suicide risk. Alrighty, well, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to this trial, or to our trials channel, and hit that bell so you see when we go live. I will be covering every single day. Also, come find us over on our main channel, True Crime Squad. We are covering this case along with lots of other cases as well. We have a great chat. We have a lot of fun. We do 4 live shows a week as well as trials, so we're around a lot. I am also putting this trial on our podcast. So for Spotify, Apple, all of those places, I take the trial, I take out all of the breaks, fix the audio if any of the audio is rough in the courtroom, and then I put it up as an episode on our True Crime Squad podcast. So if you ever just want to listen to the trial when you're commuting or whatever, you can. And I'm doing this with other trials as well. That is something that a lot of people have asked for. So that's something that we offer over on True Crime Squad as well. And then it's always here on our YouTube channel as well too. But if you just want to be able to listen to it, and it's sped up so that there are no breaks, so it goes real fast. You don't have to wait. Absolutely. I am excited to be here, and I appreciate all of you. Thanks so much for joining me. And you know it. I'm Christy with True Crime Squad Trials.